Hi, I'm Valerie Englehart, and in this video, I want to paint an Easter card for my grandma. So I've got a Strathmore watercolor card, and I've just taped it down on the top and the bottom to keep it secure. And I just found a plastic sheet that doesn't absorb water, and if I get paint on it, I can just wipe it off. That way, I can pick it up and move it around if I want to. I'm going to do just some Easter eggs, like in a nest, but I want the nest to be a heart. Now, I'm just going to grab whatever brown I have. I've got my round brush, and I'm going to grab, this is Winsor & Newton Burnt Umber. I don't want to go too dark too fast, so I'm just testing my color on my palette. And I'm not using any sketch, I'm just going to go right in. But I tend to paint too big, so I'm going to try and be careful, keep it small. And I'm just going to outline where I think some of these eggs are going to go. And because this is going to be for Easter, I do want to come in later and make the eggs like some fun colors. Okay, pretty good. Wet my brush, grab more pigment, and I'm just going to make some loose strokes for a couple reasons. One, I want it to be a nest. There's going to be like little branches sticking out, but this will also let me not totally commit to the width. That way, if I made it too small, well, it's fine because I'm just going to outline my eggs. Usually when I paint, I don't do such hard outlines, but this is a little Easter card, so I'm okay with it. I'm going to use some strong pigment here where the shadows of the eggs will be. Now this paper dries a little faster than what I'm used to, which could actually be a good thing. And honestly, this is looking pretty good as it is. I was going to pull out some cling film to create some really cool texture marks, but you know what? I think I can do all of this without the cling film. Just going to put in a few more dry brush marks. Like, I'll still want it to dry so I can do some other things, but for the most part, I like this as it is, so I am pleasantly surprised. And I'm just going to drop in more of the dark pigment and reshape this egg over here. Because eggs can be wonky in shape, but they're still usually pretty smooth. All right, now, because they're Easter eggs, I will want to make them colorful, but watercolor is transparent. And to give some unity to the piece, I'm going to go in, damp brush, and I'm just going to bleed some of this brown into my eggs. Just to give them a bit of shadow. And then if you want your eggs to stay white, well, then this is great because now you're getting a shadow on your eggs and you won't have to do anything else. All right, I'm going to pull out a blow dryer and speed up this process. All right, the card is dry. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Now that we're going into a more detailed phase, just bringing up my brush again. And second verse, same as the first, for the most part. But I want a much thicker load, almost a cream consistency versus like maybe the tea or milk that was before. I really like how loose it is in here. But if you don't, maybe you want things to be darker. So I'll just do like this little triangle and maybe another triangle up here just to show the separation between the eggs. And if you want to use a smaller brush, this is probably a good time to do that. But one thing I love about round brushes is they've got this pointed tip, just as long as you're light with your hand. But see how those eggs pop off the page more? And then, well, let's just add some, this would be the shadow between the twigs. And I'm just going to keep doing these rounded motions. And these brush strokes, oops, I'm a little too hard on that one. Smooth out my egg. No panic. But you can use this sort of rounding technique. Is great for painting loose florals too, like roses or a ranunculus. Just nice, curve, quick organic strokes. Now, I do want to keep some of my lighter color from before, because if I cover all of it, well, then what was the point of doing it and going over it? So you do want to leave those gaps. You want some gaps of light, dark and light, dark and light. I'll put it some little like dried brush twigs coming off. Oh, this is so cute. Definitely has like a farmhouse feel. With my brush. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that as is. But as I said before, these are Easter eggs, so I want to color them. And I've got some primary colors right here. I've got a turquoise blue, a magenta, and a yellow. So let's do, I'll make this one pink for magenta. So I'll get just a little, just a nice little bit. I don't even have to go into this puddle, just a little bit on the side. And let's apply it. It's pretty strong, but watercolor dries pale. So I'll just move it around. I'd recommend going in with a light wash first. And if you want to go in a little stronger, go for it. And I'm going to add the stronger pigment where the shadow is. And then if you like that as is, awesome. But if you want to lift out a highlight, rinse your brush, pat it dry, and then you can just lift off a nice little natural highlight. Works a little better if the paper is a bit drier, but I'm an impatient person. So I'm going to move on to, let's make this one yellow. Just a little bit off the side and, oh my gosh, these are so cute. I'll just go with a little more strong yellow right here. Now, because I put a shine here, that means the light's coming from this side. Putting a shadow here still makes sense though, because they're deep in the nest, but I'll give it a little bit of a highlight up at the top right here. And because this is yellow and I used a light wash, you won't really see it very much, but it's a nice little touch. Lastly, blue. Just come up to the side. Blue is pretty strong, especially this turquoise blue, so I'm going to try and go in light. And because watercolor is transparent, when we put in that little bit of shadow before, it pops through a bit, so it still gives its own shadow. And then I'll just go in a little stronger. All right, I'll let that dry for just a second. And then I'll lift a little highlight. And then when I pick up the paint, I come back here and I dab it off on my paper towel. And there we go. I think that's super cute as it is. But we can do one more thing to, if you want your eggs to have like a cute little speckled effect. I will want to dry this, however, first, because what we can do is use a toothbrush and go with some paint to add some speckle. But if I do it on wet paper, then it's just going to diffuse and bleed out, and it might just end up looking messy. So we want this to be dry, like bone dry. So I'm going to do that. All right. Painting is dry. So I'm going to do some spatter on my eggs. However, if I start spattering, it's probably going to go everywhere. So what we'll do is just grab some scrap pieces of paper you have lying around and just, you don't have to perfectly cover everything. Some speckle of brown getting into a brown nest is nothing concerning, but I don't really want it on the white of my paper. So I'm just going to grab whatever I've got just lying around, whipping up some scrap pieces of paper I have on the side. And there. Now we've got some pretty good protection going on. Going to wet my toothbrush in my water, and I'm just going to go straight into my little pan. Watercolor can be messy. Now, I can go straight in or maybe just test it on the side. Oh, look, lovely little spatter. So scooch this in a little bit more. Okay. I think that's fine. And so this is a completely optional step. Maybe you're like, no, Val, no. But it's a good thing to learn. It's fun. And that's what's most important. All right, so I've got spatter on the nest. Let's say I don't like that. Well, it's the exact same brown as the nest, and this is all dry, so I'll just go in with a wet brush and just bleed it away. It becomes one with the twinks. And there we are. Take off the tape. And now that it's done, I can write like Happy Easter, but you don't need to see my terrible penmanship. You just needed to see how to paint this fun little heart-shaped nest with some Easter eggs. So I hope you liked this video. If there's anything that you want to see, let me know down in the comments because I'm always looking for new things to paint. And I hope you have a lot of fun with this one. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Happy painting. Bye.